Hello, hello, and welcome back. Hey, did you notice the brand new video intro that I just put in front of this episode? It's super exciting. Now, it might be a little bit of a work in progress. It's the first one, but I would love to know what you think. But it is certainly a much more efficient way to come into the podcast, although it is a little weird at this point to not do my intro that I normally do. It kind of is my little way of getting into the episode, but we'll see how it goes, right? Might save me a little time on the recording, even if it's like a minute or two every time I do the recording. So anyway, let me know what you think of that brand new intro. But yes, I am Vicki Cleary, and I am here to talk to you today about something so important this time of year, something that's actually near and dear to my heart, and always something I find I am trying to find a good way to take part in, right? And so what is that? Holiday treats. So if you know me in any way, shape, or form outside of this podcast, you probably know that I have had a lifelong sweet tooth. And it's one of those things that, I work on, combating sugar, detox sugar, and I just have a way of finding my way back to it. So it's one of those things that I'm constantly working on. But it's not just about the sweets when it comes to holiday treats. There's all this yummy good food that you don't normally enjoy throughout the rest of the year, right? So there's lots of different, turkeys and hams and whatever specialty meals that you have around the holidays, you probably aren't eating on a regular basis outside of like November, December, right? So it makes it kind of special this season, but it might also have you thinking, gosh, how can I enjoy this food when I'm on a plan or I'm trying to focus on my habits? Maybe you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to look more lean, or you just want to feel better, and you know that a lot of that food doesn't help you feel better, right? So it might feel like these foods are messing with us this time of year, or they're really trying to test our willpower because they seem to be everywhere, right? You walk into the break room at the office and there's, who knows what kind of treats came in the mail from vendors and partners and the whole bit. You may be going to holiday parties where they've got these big glamorous spreads of all kinds of different things. And again, it can feel like a test of your willpower. So the common complaint that I tend to get this time of year is, how can you enjoy all of these favorite holiday treats and still reach your goals, right? And maybe not even feel guilty for being able to partake and enjoy in some of these things, right? Wouldn't that be nice? So there's a few things at play here. We're going to jump in and unpack this one: how to enjoy holiday treats this time of year, right? So the $1 million question is, do you have to skip holiday cookies and rich meals that have been part of your traditional holiday, and so that you can stay on track with your goals, with those healthy habits you've been trying to work on? And the answer is, it depends, with an asterisk, right? So I'm going to describe two scenarios for you, and you can consider whether or not you relate to either of these, or both, right? Scenario number one: if you know that eating the molasses cookies made from your grandmother's secret recipe is going to send you down a weekend-long rabbit hole of snacking and overindulging, then maybe the answer to the question is no, at least for today, right? Doesn't mean no forever, but at least for today. It's really not quite that simple, though, and we'll dig a little deeper into that in just a second. This really is a big issue. But then there's scenario number two. If you can eat that cookie, savor every bite of it, and then be done and not feel guilty later or like you messed up, then by all means, enjoy it, right? In fact, I actually suggest planning for those treats that are worth enjoying, and don't feel obligated to sample and try the things that you don't like all that much. Just, they'll leave you feeling kind of bloated. You might get that sugar crash, and you just may not feel all that good from eating it. And so it was really worth it? Probably not. But for those ones that are special to you, right, or that you can truly enjoy while you indulge, as long as you don't go off the rails with it, then sure, you enjoy it, right? So let's get back to scenario number one. It's possible that you're in this large percentage of people who find it hard to stop snacking once you start, right? I have totally been in that particular group, and I'll kind of pop in and out, right? Sometimes I will have something and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't stop. I got to keep going. There's some work to be done there, obviously, right? But then there's other times where I can totally be like, nope, I'm good, right? I've had my taste, I've had whatever I'm going to have, and I'm good. So it kind of depends on where you're at in the moment or in this time of life. So if you can't stop once you start, then, here, let me back up a second, because it could be, you might be doing really well. Whatever your meal plan is, whatever you've been working on, you've been doing really well with it. And we're going to talk about this good, right? But you've been doing really good, meaning that you've been eating clean, you've been consistent with your healthy habits. But you could also, once you like pop the top, you can't stop, right? That's from a chip commercial. I'm not going to say which one, but it's one of those things. It's like sometimes you've been doing so well that you uncork it and it's like unleashed, where other times you might be able to be mindful and controlled, right? So have you ever heard of all or nothing thinking? So you're either all in on your plan or you're not on it at all, right? All or nothing. It's also called dichotomous thinking. Basically, it means there's no middle ground, right? It's either black or right, it's left or right, and there's nothing in the middle. So you're either on your plan or you're off your plan. This also includes thinking of foods as being good or bad, right? That cookie is bad. Those carrots are good, or whatever it is, right? And usually the bad foods tend to be high calories, high in sugar, high in fat. You might even think of yourself as being good or bad, depending on those food choices, right? You ate the cookie, you are bad. You ate the carrots, oh, you're doing good. It's actually super common. Now, the kicker is that this kind of thinking in the short term, this parts of this mindset can actually help you to reach your goals, because it means you're focused on doing the things that you believe will help you, right? You're focused on the things that you believe are good for you, that will, support your health, support a healthy lifestyle. But it's really a trap, because it actually works against you in the long run and makes it even harder to maintain your results. It's because it's not sustainable. Now, you've heard me talk about sustainable habits before, and this mindset is not part of that. Okay, all or nothing mindset is not part of sustainable habits. It makes any celebration that involves food or drink a literal minefield. And if you do eat something that you think falls in the good category, or that you don't think falls into the good category, you could end up beating yourself up mentally, right? And that's not fair to you. You don't deserve that. You shouldn't be talking to yourself that way. Don't beat yourself up. You could also end up going wild and crazy, eating all kinds of foods that are in the bad category, right? Literally pop the top, you can't stop, off the rails. And some of that, especially if you've been doing good, you start going down that path. I'm already off the plan. I've already messed up. I might as well keep going. But also, like, the chemistry in your brain is like, give me more. Like you're, the feel-good hormones are just firing because of all of these reward centers, right? That you're now feeding it because of all these, we'll call bad foods, right? We'll call them bad temporarily. Now, it is common to think, I've messed up. Darn it, I might as well eat everything in sight. Or everything I've been denying myself, right? Because I can just start over again on Monday. So the stop and start, that's also not good for your, it's not sustainable, and it's not good for your healthy lifestyle. Now, if you feel like you can relate to any of this, put a note in the comments below, right? What's kind of like your all or nothing example? Maybe that this thing that you notice keeps coming up in your mind, either as you're getting ready to eat, or it doesn't have to be around food. It can be for anything, really. But leave a note in the comments. Now, on the flip side, an approach that you can maintain for a lifetime involves moderation. So this means that eating that cookie doesn't become a big deal. You don't skip a beat, because the next time you eat, it will be something healthy. And the most important thing that you can remember is that your results come from the things that you do consistently. So day in and day out, more often than not, and occasional indulgences will not tank your results, okay? If you're used to this all or nothing mentality, letting that mindset go can take some retraining, and it might even feel a little bit scary, right? This is where you have to trust yourself, okay? Now, what if instead of following a bunch of strict rules, you focused on creating small, sustainable habits, right? You've heard this from me before, that can actually help you feel better mentally and physically. This is what can start to make a huge difference. Again, it goes back to that consistency. Now, this could mean coming up with a few healthy snack options that you could enjoy, and that you could rotate through over the course of a week. And then, maybe if there's a particular time that you choose to indulge in something sweet or special, rich or very filling, then the next time, right, you might be able to have one of those healthier snack options, or one of those healthier breakfast ideas. And then, of course, those breakfast ideas, if you can find something that helps keep you full till lunchtime, that satiety will also keep you kind of from going off these rails. If you do happen to have something that is a little sweeter, or that might, kind of pique your brain's interest to try to get more. So if you need help in this area, that's actually where I help my clients. It's one of the ways in which I help my clients. And I especially help with planning and updating the mindset so that you're able to have a healthy relationship with food and not feel guilty every time you try to enjoy something. So many of my clients start off with, hey, I was bad. I had this, I was bad. I didn't do that. It's like, okay, it wasn't good or bad, right? You made a choice, and what's going to be the next choice that you make? Now, with this, it's under the all or nothing umbrella, but it's another mindset shift that can actually support you in your decisions. So if you're someone who struggles with sticking to healthy food, or actually taking time to move your body, or really following any other healthy habit, let's be honest, this one word, I'll tell you in a minute, creates such a huge shift in mindset and can change your entire outlook. So let's say you're at a big holiday party, right? And you've just finished eating dinner. You had a nice big dinner. You're feeling comfortably full. You actually feel pretty great, right? Because you've been enjoying yourself. You didn't overstuff yourself. And then you notice that they're serving dessert. And now you know that after you eat this dessert, you will not feel so great. In fact, you will feel kind of bloated, probably ready for a major nap. after the sugar crash. And that is just the short term. You also know that stacking dessert on top of a good meal will not help you toward your goals, right? At that moment, what do you tell yourself? Okay, moment of truth time, right? What do you tell yourself in this scenario? Do you tell yourself, I can't eat dessert? Or do you tell yourself, I don't eat dessert? These two statements might sound similar, but they are really 180 degrees apart in mindset. Let me explain. I can't means that someone or something else is in charge of your behavior and your thoughts. Does that feel like where you want to be? When you say I don't, this means that you are making a deliberate choice. You're in control, right? The I can't statement is another version of all or nothing thinking. And it also puts you in a box, right? It gives you these constraints that, depending on where you're at in your healthy lifestyle journey, that box might feel too restrictive, and you might be, you could be at risk of like retaliating, right? Of going off the rails. But the I don't statement gives you power, and it helps you set clear boundaries that you are in charge of. And it can completely revamp your approach to using willpower because it takes it out of the question, right? Willpower is not even part of this. You just simply don't do this thing, period, right? Try saying these statements out loud to yourself and feel the difference, okay? I don't stay up until 1 a.m. when I have to work the next day. I mean, that feels legit, right? It's just something I don't do. I don't skip my scheduled workouts. Yeah, okay. Totally feels legit, right? And I don't eat processed foods. What happens if you put I can't in front of this? Or I can't stay up until 1 a.m. Oh God, it just feels like, I mean, now what if I want to stay up till 1 a.m., right? If you have that kind of rebellious streak in you, I can't statements meant to start draw that out, and you're going to feel it when you compare these two statements, right? I can't skip my scheduled workouts. I can't eat processed foods. Now, unless you have a legitimate health issue where there are foods that you cannot eat because of life and death scenarios, or severe reactions and this kind of thing, that's a different story. But when you have a choice, I can't versus I don't, that mindset makes all the difference. So scientific research shows that making that shift from I don't to I can't makes a difference in changing your behavior. Is your mind blown right now? I could have avoided all of these cookies and cakes, after dinner just by saying I don't. And I mean, to some extent, yes, right? If only I had known this so many years ago. So let's take another look at this dessert statement, okay? Using the I can't statement, again, puts you in that restricted all or nothing mind space. And you might retaliate and eat the dessert anyway, or maybe 2 or 3, or the whole, cheesecake. I mean, you fell off the plan anyway, so, you'll just pick up again on Monday. What does it really matter? I'm already done, right? My plan's already toast. And you might feel like any progress that you made is gone by that one dessert, right? Well, I hear I'm going to gain 10 pounds, or I'm going to, be feeling like crap for the next week. It's a completely different frame of mind than if you take a step back and look at it from this perspective, right? You've been consistently eating balanced meals and working out weekly. How is one dessert going to knock you back to 0? How is one dessert going to completely throw off your plan? Right? I mean, when you think about it that way, it's like, oh, right. Like Rome wasn't built in a day. Rome, well, outside of natural disaster that comes and wipes it out, right, doesn't get completely destroyed in a day. And same goes with your plan and your results, right? What you've been working on for all this time took time. And it would take a lot more than one simple dessert to, completely flatten those results. Now, you still might feel a little crappy afterwards because that's the processed food, the sugars or whatever that are in that thing. But that's for you to decide if it's worth, right? Gosh, that cheesecake is going to taste super good. I'm really going to be able to enjoy it. And yes, I know I'm probably going to feel maybe a little, tomorrow or afterwards. So that's where you get to decide, right? But you're in control and you have the choice. So back to that statement, right? By using the I don't statement, such as I don't eat dessert, but maybe you tack on right after a meal, right? I don't eat dessert right after a meal. Not only are you claiming the power to choose to not have the dessert, but you're also creating options for yourself. So we're coming out of that box-like restriction that the I can't statement gave us. And we're able to open up, by stepping back, see things for a little more what they are. We have options, okay? You can choose. Maybe you wait an hour and see if you feel like you want the dessert then. Or maybe you want, well, what's on the dessert table doesn't really strike my fancy. I would really rather have, this thing from elsewhere. And then maybe like on your way home or something, you go do the thing. Or you could even choose to skip dessert tonight, since you had that big meal, and maybe have a dessert later in the week after you've already had a cleaner, lighter meal. So try it. See what you think. You honestly have nothing to lose, right? I mean, you could go off the rails, and then you're going to feel, like shaming yourself. So trying this different mindset, at worst, you're going to feel better about yourself for eating the dessert, right? Not a bad thing. But also, like, you're not going to be shaming yourself for eating the dessert. You're realizing that you have some control here, and that might also affect how you react, right? How you respond in that moment. So, speaking of responding in the moment, one final strategy that you can use when it comes to enjoying these holiday treats is planning when you're going to enjoy them, right? And I've talked about, planning before on several other episodes. I couldn't tell you the numbers. I forgot to look them up before I started recording. So some of the previous episodes. Planning is super important when it comes to decision making, because when you're planning, then before you are in the moment of needing to make the decision, right? So it happens before. You're actually using your prefrontal cortex, right? The frontal part, the decision-making part of your brain, or rather than the lower part of your brain, the amygdala, which is tied to emotions and impulsiveness, okay? So again, that planning mindset, I always like to look at my week, right? I do week at a time. And then, when I'm in the day, I have to be mindful about the day, but looking at my week and saying, okay, great. These are the days where I'm going to have time to work out, right? Based on my schedule, what's going on. These are the days when maybe we've got a holiday party going on this evening. Wonderful. Okay, so then I can plan to have, lunch perhaps that is more health-minded, so vegetables, maybe it's a little lighter feeling, but very nourishing, right? A nutritious lunch. Knowing that when I go to this party in the evening, I'm going to be faced with some, hors d'oeuvres, maybe some heavy hors d'oeuvres. I was at one that had fried chicken and macaroni and cheese, right? So, wow, That's a lot, I mean, and then tables and tables of variety. So knowing that you're going to be faced with some of these options, you can kind of decide how you're going to enter, but you're deciding days before, right? Okay, great. So I'm going to this party and I know it's really good if I can stick to 2 drinks max, and I'm going to have a more healthful, nourishing lunch. Maybe it's a little lighter. I can enjoy some of the various foods, knowing that I'm going to be social and having fun and whatnot. But then the next day, again, maybe you're going back to that lighter, nourishing meal just to kind of offset some of what you've eaten, at that party. Or same goes if you've got, a thing over lunch, right? You've got a work lunch. Like recently, we just had sandwiches, right? For that was our lunch. And I usually try not to eat a lot of heavy breaded meals for lunch. So, knowing that I was going to have that this week, then the rest of the week, I've actually got something that's a little more protein and veggie oriented. So when you take a look at the week with that planning mindset, you can see where these decision points are going to happen, and you can decide ahead, right? And you can also have these strategies for mitigating either on one side or the other, right? So that if you do happen to go off the rails at that one point, you already have your plan in place for, the before and the after, okay? So planning is, again, another way that you can enjoy these different things, treats and rich meals and the whole bit, knowing that you're being intentional about when and how you're going to do it. Okay, so let's recap. How can you enjoy these holiday treats without feeling guilty and without feeling like you have to start from zero on your plan? So it's a couple of mindset shifts that, and honestly, will take a little bit of practice, but once you start using them, you'll get the hang of it. So we have getting out of all or nothing thinking, or that dichotomous thinking, right? You're either all in or you're all out on your plan. Food is good or bad. You are good or bad if you have the foods. So we're stepping out of that mindset, right? Moderation is key, along with creating consistency, which means you don't have to be on plan 100% of the time. And of course, aiming to be on plan more than you're not on plan. So there's going to be times we're going to fall off. Totally okay. It's about trying to build that consistency more often than not. And taking into consideration how that holiday treat or that rich meal is going to affect you. Is it going to start a binge that you don't feel like you'll be able to control or stop? Will it make you feel gross or bloated? In these cases, consider skipping these treats or holding out for something that you might enjoy a little bit more, or maybe that will have less of an effect on you, a negative effect on you. And that other mindset shift is switching from I can't to I don't. Making the shift gives the power back to you. You are the one making the decision. And it also creates more options so that you don't feel stuck having to miss out on something that you might enjoy. And finally, having that plan for when you will choose to indulge and when you will choose to wait, using your decision-making brain rather than your emotional or impulsive brain. Okay, so your energizing habit to try today or this week, and given that it's about mid-December, it's quite possible that you will have several opportunities to give this a try. And that is to be intentional about how you are thinking about those holiday treats. Notice when you're defaulting to all or nothing thinking, or thinking that you can't have something versus you don't do that thing. When you catch yourself having these thoughts, be very purposeful in that moment to reframe it, okay? All or nothing thinking, right? You're stepping back, you're reframing with moderation and consistency. And if you're having an I can't thought, you're stepping back and reframing to actually I don't, right? And maybe if you need to tie in a why, okay? Or I don't after this, right? I don't have desserts after a heavy meal. you can wait a little bit. Okay. Now, I've mentioned before, I believe on the last episode, but if you're already thinking about the new year, which is just a few weeks away at this point, and what your goals might be that you're going to set for 2023, you'll want to join my upcoming masterclass. I call it the Resolution Revolution. It's a goal setting and action planning masterclass that I'm holding on December 29th. It's live, it's virtual, so join me in your PJs if you want to, or maybe if you're at work on that day, join me, and enjoy your lunch with me, right? And I'll take you through my process for setting healthy goals in line with your values, and then setting yourself up for success with a personalized and measurable and super simple action plan, okay? Because, one way that keeps us from reaching our goals is having an overcomplicated plan. Another thing is by not having a plan. So we will have a plan and it will be simple, whatever your goal is. So I'm offering this masterclass for free, okay? It's scheduled to be an hour and a half. So if we get through the main content a little bit early, we'll have extra time for Q&A, but I will be with you for an hour and a half for free. So don't miss it. If you register as a VIP, this is another option that I like to offer the VIP option, because sometimes, you do a masterclass or you do a webinar or something, and you're like, great, how do I feel like I kind of got it, but I'm still not sure how I apply this to me. So if you become a VIP, it's a $67, it's actually a discounted rate on my 1-hour coaching sessions. And I actually don't offer them in one-off sessions. So, the fact that you can get a single session and it's just $67 is quite a deal. And you only get that option when you register for the masterclass. And what that gets you is a 1-hour coaching session that you can schedule with me in the month of January. So, depending on our schedules and depending what works for you, it could be early January, help you really set up on how to execute on your goal. It could be later in January. You've been working on your goal for a little bit, and maybe you might want a little support in where you might be struggling, okay? So we'll talk about that in the hour session. It'll be 1 hour just for you. So you get that for $67 if you choose the VIP option when you register for the masterclass. Okay, that is all I have for you today. So thank you so much for your time. If you found this episode valuable, please like it, leave a review, comment below, share it with someone else who might find it valuable. You can also take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram stories. And if you do that, tag me at Uplift Healthy Lifestyle. All right, awesome. Have an energized day.